Okay. My name is Jeep Sanza. I come from Pennsylvania. I was drafted into the Army before the war. I was sent to a couple of schools. I went to a CC camps. I did a lot with the government, whatever. They took care of me before the war, and then I got some easy stuff. So I was in the service, I was in the Army, and we were stationed at Fort Starry, Virginia. And that's where the war broke out at 7 o'clock Sunday morning. And from there, we went to Fort Lewis, Washington. From Fort Lewis, Washington, we went to Mount Standish and went overseas. I was in England for a year and a half. They had enough equipment there and enough men that could sink the island. It was so heavy. So when it came to the invasion of France, we were in Southampton in England. That's where I met General Patton. I was picked from our company to be his driver. I took a test and I passed it. From then on, I was General Patton's driver, but I still was with my company, but he was in headquarters. And every time they wanted me, I always had to keep my helmet on. I always wore a helmet. When I went to sleep or this and that, I had my helmet on. And every time they wanted me, I had ready to go. No matter what I was doing, I was working for in our organization, repairing vehicles at the same time. But when he wanted to go somewhere, I had to go with him. So whenever they called me, I'd go pick him up. And when I'd pick him up, he put his one foot in the Jeep. Can you hear me all right? He put one foot in the Jeep, the other foot, he'd say a prayer. As soon as he finished saying the prayer, you never heard a man swear so hard in all your life. He knew there was a war going on. He was a wonderful person. I'm going to some things what happened with him and me, and then I'll keep you awake for a minute. Oh, when we first got into the invasion of France, we went to Charleroi. We had his truck and his van, and we painted the olive drab and put the maps up on the wall in his truck and his van. And he never slept in the van. He slept outside like we did. And he was a real general. He slept with us outside. He never slept in the van. While we were there that night, Bing Crosby and Dinah Shore came to see us. We were there, and while we were there, we were getting bombed. We were getting bombed. We all hit the ground. And Bing Crosby had a violin player with him. When they were bombing us, and Bing Crosby said, "Everybody lay down." We all laid down, and he got up on the mic and he sang "White Christmas" for us in July. And that makes you feel good, you know. People like that come down, movie stars. They were in the same position you and I or any soldier was, because they knew what happened there. And then, for General Patton, he was a man, he was dressed, he was always clean. You never saw him with dirty clothes or nothing like that. He wore a helmet. He had a helmet that had 8 coats of lacquer that we put on there for him. And he wanted to shine, and he wanted to shine all the time. You ever see him in the movies or someplace with that helmet? That baby shines. But we put the helmet, that plastic plaque on it, and every time he took it out, he had a cloth. He had a special cloth to wipe his helmet. And you remember that? You could see him with that. And then he had a gun, a pistol. He wanted pearl handles on it. Well, how are you going to make pearl handles over there? So we did it. We took the bone handles off of his pistol. We got one guy by the name of Whitey, one guy that's made the plastic handles, and he painted them white inside, and they looked just like pearl handles. So he had a pearl handled gun. So that's how we were general. Now this one will kill you. Well, we were going, getting ready for to go to the Battle of Bastogne. And he and I went out to look for a place to move all the organizations to move them forward, to bring them up forward toward us, you know, get it close to the front lines. So we found a place in the bivouac area, and while we were there was a Red Cross truck was there, and had donuts and coffee. They weren't donuts at the time. Them days they call them crullers. Remember that? Some of you do and some of you don't. They were crullers, not donuts. So we would go in there, and I stopped there, and he says, "Oh, there's a truck there, sir. Here comes the guys from the front lines. They were coming back with coffee and donuts." So he asked me if I wanted one. I said, "Yeah, I'll have one." So I went over there, and he said to me, "Did you pay her for them?" I said, "Yeah, they were 10 francs. He said, "You paid for the donuts?" "Yeah." I figured they were making money. They needed money to buy the stuff, you know. So, okay. So he said, "You sit here," and he says, "I'm going to go get it with myself." So he went over there, and he said he would have a cup of coffee and the donuts. And the girls made a big mistake. There was 2 blonde girls from El Paso, Texas, was in that truck. They made a big mistake when they said, "George, you don't have to pay for your donuts." Our kids were in the front lines, and they were paying for the donuts. They paid 10 francs for 2 donuts. And he didn't care for that, and didn't do bad. So he told me to go back, sit in the van and the truck. I sat in my Jeep, and he said to the girls, he says, "Where do you keep the money for these donuts?" She said, "In the back of the box." And they had an orange crate. Remember orange crates years ago? Some of you old timers had 2 compartments. They had a box like that. So he made her, she dragged the box of money out, and she dragged it out, and he pulled it up and he put it on the ground. He had a little cigarette lighter in his pocket. He always carried a cigarette lighter in his one pocket. So when he got it, he picked up some of them notes, and he put the match to it, he lied to it. They lit all the paper money, and there was burning, it was burned. He burned all the money was in there, you know. Them poor girls, they turned white when they see all that money getting burned. So all of a sudden, he kept in the machine Jeep over there. There's a shovel and a pick on the side of it. He came over and he took them off the Jeep, my Jeep, and he dug a hole. And he buried them all the stuff he burned was in the hole. He covered it up. And then he said to the 2 girls, he said, "When you go back to your commander, you just tell him that you ran into George S. Patton." And that's all you have to tell him. And it was true. So he told me when he would get in trouble again. So we were going down the road, and I said, "You know, General, you shouldn't have burned that money." I said, "You should have gave it to me." He said, "If you want some money, I'll make you a check right now." You know, that's the kind of a guy he was. Wonderful person. You might have heard this and heard that about him, the blood and guts and all that stuff, but he was one great general, one of the greatest in the world. And he got the name Blood and Guts because they always say, their blood and his guts, they'd get somewhere. He did it too. You know, and I'll tell you another thing, that he never did care for Eisenhower. Eisenhower was his enemy, in case you people don't know. They graduated school together. Patton made a better mark than Eisenhower did. Patton got the job at the White House, and Eisenhower went down to Fort Story, Virginia as a 2nd lieutenant. When he got at the White House, in 6 months he was a 1-star general, Patton was. And Eisenhower was always said, "George, get me a job. George, get me a job. George, get me a job." You know, well then, at that time, when then they made him, George Patton went to the cavalry in Louisiana, and he got Eisenhower a job at the White House. So Eisenhower worked his way up to be a great commander. And one day we were over there, and he says to me, he said, "You know," he said, "we graduated together." He says, "I got him that good job, and now you mean tell me I have to listen to him?" No, he said, "I don't know." He wouldn't, because Omar Bradley and General Patton were pretty good friends. Anytime Eisenhower had something to tell to Patton, it'd have to go through Omar Bradley, or he wouldn't get no answer. One morning we went, he called me 3 o'clock in the morning, we have an appointment with Eisenhower at the Red Schoolhouse at E-Tain. He asked me if I knew where it was. I did know. I knew I was there before. So at 3 o'clock in the morning, we were going to E-Tain at the Red Schoolhouse. So we were there. Bradley was there. Hodge was there. And when we got there, the 3 of us were there. Here comes Eisenhower with a black Cadillac. and he had a garrison hat on. He didn't have no helmet like we all had, you know. And George says, hey, Ike, where's your helmet? He says, well, I don't have to wear one. He said, well, you said that anybody in the front lines must have a helmet. He said, well, he said, I don't need none. He tapped me on the shoulder. He says, turn it around, we're going back. We went back, we left it there. He left Eisenhower right there, and never heard another word, you know. And then Bradley used to say, George, if I was Eisenhower, I'd send you home tomorrow. But they needed that, they needed him so bad that it was even funny. Eisenhower, they admitted it. Any man was different, but what he done and the other general would be gotten home. One day we went, we told him that he couldn't go into Berlin. Now I modified a Jeep from him we made, something like the one there that they had. We did a lot of work to it. Like a picture here. That's that really small. So we got the call and he said, George, he says, you cannot go into Berlin. He said, Eisenhower and it was Churchill and Stalin decided that Russia will take Berlin. And I'm telling you, when he heard that, he said he didn't do it. He had tears in his eyes. He just sat there and had tears in his eyes. Okay, so 2 days later, he says to me, he says, tomorrow, he said, I want you to get ready, we're going to go to Austria. We went to Austria. They wanted to ride the white horses. So we got there. The ladies own that place in Austria, the white horses. You heard about the white horses? Okay. So we were there, and he said to the ladies, I want to ride one of the horses, you know. The two women owned this place that they do. And she said, well, she said, I got some nice. He spotted a nice one. He did it. He said, I'd like to ride that one. Oh, she said, that's the horse that Hitler bought for Hirohito. Oh, he was in heaven when he seen that. He stayed there for 3 days riding that horse because Bradley came and got me and brought me back into Germany. And I was supposed to get his stuff all ready to go home. The war was over in May, and I didn't get home till November. I had to get all this stuff together, roll up all the maps, get the trucks ready to go. And then I went home. I took two stars off the truck for a souvenir. I got some souvenirs from that, from the war. Oh. Right before the Battle of Bastogne, that was one of the greatest. We were sent to Nancy, France. We stayed there for 3 months in Nancy, repairing and fixing vehicles, getting ready for the invasion. After the 3 months, when we were getting ready to go, it was on December 23rd, when we pulled everybody forward, you know. And then I was supposed to go back with Lieutenant Guyette from Galveston, Texas, to get squared away to make sure that we left everything in good shape. We were working in a barrel factory where the French people made barrels. Okay, so we got up that one morning, Lieutenant Guyette and myself, and I had to go down to the office down at the wine factory and got the okay, if everything was all right. And she says to me, you better read the meters. I said, what meters? She said, for the electricity you guys use. You know, she was an English, she spoke good English. And I told the lieutenant, he said, don't get mad. He said, listen to her to see what has to be done. So we got there and we got back and went back to the house. And then we had to pay rent. We had to pay rent for the place that we stayed there 3 months. We had 2 houses and a bungalow. So here we freed the French people, but we had to pay them for us for being there. It sounds good, don't it? Oh, you see that big Jeep over there? Every American vehicle has a circle on the hood. You notice that? And the star, they represent something. The star represents, it's for the airplanes to be spotted so they can spot our vehicles. And the circle is made, it's for, in case any enemy would turn gas on us, that paint would turn red. And the chemical from the gas would turn certain red, so we would know that there was gas in the area. You learned something new today, huh?